Spawning the bottom left in the blue, he's the Vanguard player. Hailing from Finland, it's Mixu. And in the upper right, playing Celestials from all the way from Australia in this, the most cross-server of any cross-server match we could ever possibly get. It's you. We're at Titans Causeway. It's the day-night edition because it's pretty. I like the pretty. So, what are we going to see here in this game? Well, I hear a lot about how just going mass vector is very hard for Vanguard players to deal with. There's just a lot of pressure to the point where Mixu reached out to me when we were looking at, I was looking to doing an invitational that didn't end up happening because I was sick that week. He was like, hey, can I not play against the Celestial round one? I don't think I can deal with it right now. I would rather give players, like, for the first round matchups, I want to give good games, and then we'll see what happens. And sure, maybe I have to play Celestial in the winner's match, but I don't really like it. In his words, it feels unholdable. So I don't know how much the meta in this matchup has evolved in the last 2 weeks. Last, I guess, really 3 weeks or so. We didn't really have any Vanguard versus Celestial in the grid invitation or the grid open #1 last week. So kind of hard to really keep a pulse on where the matchup is at the moment, but you know, balance changes haven't really happened, and well, we're gonna have to see exactly how this is gonna work. So for now, Sovereign's Watch is gonna get popped here. Argent just has to get brought out a little bit. That's just making sure that you don't lose a power bank. Losing one power bank early on has kind of an outsized effect on how the Celestial how this matchup goes, because it's expensive. It has less HP than it used to, but it does give you more power. So losing it is probably even more punishing, even as they made it a little bit smaller. Losing it's a little bit more punishing. It means you go down into yellow or red power that much easier. And when you're looking at that, going into red, yellow power, and like, if you go down into red power, your production is just so much slower. Your structures don't heal. If you're at yellow power, it's not so much slower, but it is slower. So for now, Mixu's going hogs and dogs, hogs, lancers, and dogs, I guess technically, but a lot of motion on the map, a lot of power on the map, a lot of harassment on the map as now we hit our first nighttime, which is, again, I just like the day-night cycle. It's pretty fun here. So we got one mech bay, adding in more barracks biolab. So this is Mixu. I mean, he will be playing bio out of this. The headshots are just for kind of early game pressure, trying to kill off as many of these Argents as possible before things really get started in earnest. And by the way, we're missing a power bank, so only in yellow power, not in green. That slows things down, that makes things less impactful. Also makes it a little bit harder to go and for you to drop his spells. What is technically, you know, drop the astral interventions. So for now, that's what we're looking at. Also kind of cool here. This is a chamber opening into Seraphim. So you get a rather quick tier 2. It does mean you can creep on the map pretty quickly, which is one of the reasons why Mixu is committing so hard to this early game setup, because he knows that if he doesn't creep before his opponent does, the Seraphim are just going to go get so much from the map. So this is just kind of kneecapping things before it properly gets started. And well, Mixu behind this, what do we got here? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Nanoswarm's going to be on the way. You get a couple medtechs, and medtechs, while they were nerfed, well, they were not as strong as they were in, what was it, 031 or 030, right? It was like, yes, we're gonna buff the Nanoswarm. It's gonna do 300 damage, and nothing will survive. Well, that has been nerfed. It's now back to 200. It's a little bit more fair, but it's still very good on the Nanoswarm, and also does a very good job of keeping these Vulcans alive. So this is gonna be kind of a mech bio together type of push, where you're gonna have medtechs, you're gonna have Vulcans. Are we building anything else out of there? It's just gonna be Vulcans, right? Oh, no, okay. No, yeah, getting more hedgehogs, because at a certain point, it's all about the rally. Hedgehogs rally through the middle of the map much faster than Vulcans do. So you get your Vulcan, that's with the army, that's kind of your big tank that's gonna sit there, and then your hedgehogs, they rally right through. Also Vulcans, they can cut trees. That's pretty useful. So We're going to see Mixu now is going to take the Luminite camp at the center. That is going to reveal to you exactly what's happening. It's going to reveal to you that, yeah, you know, he is, in fact, getting, proxy scrapyard. That's not going to do much, but that this push is happening through the middle. So, yeah, now you knows where the army is. We saw the Seraphim. They run. Actually, no, they're just going to go for the speed camp for now. But proxy scrapyard to get more therium is kind of a cool idea. But for right now, the Seraphim are here, and they can't really fight this army. Hedgehog, they're just going to go siege up and make life very hard. So this third base of you, his army's not there. He's rotating over now, but Mass Argent, can this deal with this? I'm not sure. Seraphim on the high ground, certainly no anti-air available at the moment. We're going to see 2 of the 4 med techs. They're going to get taken down. The base is dead. Sovereign's Watch not really going to do a lot. But now this, oh God, this Vulcan seems like it's going to fall down. We have 1 offensive Nano Swarm. Not really doing a lot. In fact, it's just going to be purified. This army will kill off the base, absolutely. But Mixu is not going to be able to go and kill and really get much more than that. In fact, he's going to lose the good majority of his entire army. And by the way, because he was aware of the scrapyard, he's going to be able to go kill the scrapyard. It did not find the value that it was looking for. Not only scrapyard is going to fall down, these 4 bobs, they should probably fall down for the most part as well. And now Hornets are going to start to join the fray. Hornets very good against the Seraphim. Yeah, sure. But there are Argents on the ground. So there is that one. A couple Seraphim really shouldn't even, they really should not have even tanked the Skymine, but they do. And that means they slow down. That means they take a reasonable amount of damage. But this army of you now continues to rally forward. It's just Seraphim Argent. And the Argents, well, they do actually, oh, he got up to tier 3, so he's got long shot module as well, which means they do more damage versus heavy. Now they get, in fact, they do more damage than they used to, but only at the tier 3 level, but they do more damage now. They have much longer range when they're empowered. It's a problem. So now we're going to see Purify go down, giving a little bit more power, making sure the Argents just, they have that many more empowered shots, and the Medtechs are just getting targeted down here. This is not working out for Mixu. Yeah, he got the 3rd base. Unfortunately, that just triggered use trap card. He's going to show up into the natural and start to kill off just about everything. Now, there are no more purifies available. That's kind of the unfortunate story. There are no more purifies available, so you're not going to be able to go and get that much more power on top of the Argents. They're kind of stuck right where they are, and Argents without empowered shot are not all that good. So that is worth talking about. It's going to take a second here, but the damage is already getting done. So much of Mixu's army has been taken out, and there's not a lot of anti-air, so the Seraphim are just, it's not a ton of air-to-ground damage, but they're just adding damage on top of things, and Mixu just does not want to go into anti-air mode. It just means the Hedgehogs will all fall down. And it's also really important to point out here that the Seraphim do not have the mechanical tag. They're light. They do not have the mechanical tag, which means that you cannot offensively Nano Swarm them. In fact, to my understanding, that's why, that's a large portion why we started to see this kind of Seraphim Archangel type of idea, is because they were kind of the few units. It's anything out of the Legion Hall does not have the mechanical tag. So Seraphim, Archangel, Animancer. And to my understanding, that's why this build started to become a little bit more popular for Celestials, is because Nano Swarm was so strong. So let's see if we can make a build around the fact that there are these couple units that do not have the mechanical tag. So now slams down, gets on top of a lot of this army. Purify gets dropped once again to give it a little bit more power, which means the Archangel is very strong. Mixu taps out, and you takes game number 1. So we saw game 1, Mixu went for this very ground pounding early game army where he's like, yeah, Vulcans and Medtechs and Exos, or not Exos, Vulcans and Medtechs and Lancers and Hedgehogs. Right, we're gonna go kill the 3rd base. There's not a lot that the Celestial players are gonna be able to do about it. And that was true, but they could kill the army while you're killing off the 3rd base because that Seraphim Argent idea was very effective. So eventually we saw Mixu go and he got Hornets out. That was good. That worked out reasonably well. But we're in this situation now where it would be nice. Well, I think Mixu just has to have get a little bit better scout about what's happening, get those Hornets out a little bit faster, because like if you hit with like 3 less Hedgehogs, but maybe 2 Hornets, maybe just 1 Hornet on top of things, Maybe that works out a little bit better. Wow, that that patch command is so out of date, Luca. Yeah, I've much more recent patch videos. I need to change that. I need to change that command in my bot. Yeah, this seems a little bit outdated, just a tiny bit. It's only like 5 months out of date or something. I don't know. Like, my bad. We'll fix that. We'll update that one. It's gonna be okay. Sorry about that one. Yeah. Where were we? Taking a look at the game. That's getting started. Getting set up here as I'm gonna plug this in. So we talked about it, how game one was very much this game of, well, almost just kind of a counter setup where there was just no good answer for the Seraphim, and that meant that they were able just to get more damage than was acceptable to Mixu's army to go as he was trying to kill off the third base. I think we're going to see Mixu do something a little bit different in this game number 2. Please, when should we expect the new patch? Excited for the graphical overhaul. Yeah, my guess is late April. That's my guess. Late April, about 6 to 8 weeks after we got 0.3. So that's kind of mid to late April is where we're looking at. And also, you know, we are starting to see some teasers of the new patch. Well, maybe of the new patch. We don't have a confirmation that the new patch is going to have the Infernal graphical overhaul, but we have started to see some of the new, like we've seen the new Brute, we've seen the walk, I guess the running and the attack animations of the new Brute, the running animations of the new Fiend. I'm looking for a little bit of feedback there. So we have seen some of that stuff. And that does provide a little bit, that's like, okay, that gives us some teasers about what's coming in 0.4. I think the headline 0.4 update is going to be the first couple campaign missions totally redone. I think that's what we're going to see. But also maybe Infernal's looking a little bit prettier. I don't know. Seraphim openers are very common. Vanguard build Hornets. Celestial build Vectors to counter the Hornets. I guess you play it a bit different with the Argents. Yeah, that makes sense. Waiting for the patch that allows Vanguard tier 1 units to die. Guillotine, did you not watch the last game? Or Ariel versus Ruskov, where Ariel lost 0-2 playing Vanguard versus Infernals. I mean, I agree. Or, you know, the most recent patch where in 0.3 and its following patches, Lancers have lost like 60 HP. They still have about, what is it, 210? But they're not nearly as tanky as they used to be. Infernal tier, or Vanguard tier 1 can absolutely die. As now, this Argent Seraphim pressure hitting very fast, 4.5 minutes in. And what do we have? We got Scout Lancer. Do we have any anti-air? Okay, the Hornet on the way. Habitat not ready just yet. It's not a solar habitat, but we're gonna have to pop an overcharge here. And the Seraphim are the problem. You have to get this Hornet up. And you gotta make sure that the Hornet doesn't die. So solar habitat is done. Sentry post on the way. Third base under some pressure, but not really. They're gonna have to rotate on over to it. Now it's gonna be under some pressure and no overcharge really available. Exo, well, it's gonna be done here. It's gonna provide a little bit more power, but man, Scouts do nothing to Argents whatsoever. So it also begs the questions. We take a look at this setup. Even as the Hornet pops out, is that gonna be enough here? So Hornet's here. It's gonna get targeted down by the Argents as much as possible. It actually just really taking no damage at the moment. Skymine is gonna be here as well. And the Exos are firing pretty well from behind. Hornet stays alive for the time being. Exos has to fight backwards. It's not impossible for Mixu. The Argent pressure is the scary thing, but the Seraphim are getting low. And it seems like for now, Mixu has held on to his third base. He's lost a couple units, maybe a couple. Okay, you gotta be, there we go. Seraphim's gonna get targeted down. Lost maybe a couple bobs. But for the most part, he's kind of okay. And now Nanoswarm's on the way. He's developing that next round of his tech. And Nanoswarm is pretty good against a bunch of Argents. Argents have 180 HP. Nanoswarm does 200 damage. That's a pretty good solution. So he's held on. He's got himself 3 bases. He's got his Hornets out. And it does seem like Yu has put himself in it. Well, the first attack from Yu isn't really working out all that well. And if the first attack isn't working, oh, okay, Hornet's going to fall. But this is very much a momentum play. So if the first attack doesn't work out and you're behind economically, that can be a little bit awkward. By the way, we talked about the power of the long shot, the photocapacitor. That is a That's going to take a while. Yes, we got up to tier 3, but Guardian Nexus only just started researching rather short time ago. So photocapacitors are going to take a while. These Argents do not have their upgrades. That means they do not have that prolonged fighting power that they would otherwise have. They can burst, absolutely, but that actually is kind of the power of the Sky Mine. Is that if you can go and you can force these empowered shots on things that are not like actual units, well, that can work out rather nicely indeed. So medtech's in the army, maybe just for healing at the time being, but Nanoswarm is done. Hornets continue to get added in. Exo Hornet medtech is a pretty good solution to what's happening right now from you. So he's going to move up the ramp once again, but I don't think he breaks this. Yeah, I really don't think he breaks this. Vanguard has a 20% win rate versus Celestials and Infernals, and people still want to nerf them. I'm not keeping up with the win rate with the overall faction win rates. I don't know if that's true, Mokri. I know you've been a very strong believer that Vanguard has been underpowered for a while now, so you know, I don't know how much of this is bias. I don't know how much of this is actual statistics, but we do see it's like Hellborn are very difficult for the other two factions. Hellborn were like overbuffed. I think that's a pretty fair statement. And some of these Celestial pressures certainly make it very hard for the Vanguard player to play. And I mean, if we look at this now, there's still a lot of Seraphim. We don't have, oh no, we do have, God, Longshot research is so quickly compared to photocapacitors, but Longshot's done, photocapacitors is done. We're going to see Purify get dropped, which means the offensive and defensive Nanoswarms are going to fall down. And by the way, Hornets are dead as well. So you continues to move in with just these massive tier 3 Argents. And without a lot of Exos, I think Mixu's just kind of dead again. Not enough sentry posts in the front lines, and it's just so many Argents. This was a much better defense for Mixu. Like, let's be clear here. Keeps third base alive, doesn't really have to do all that much. And now, okay, he's gonna add an Atlas in. Atlas versus a bunch of Argents, a pretty cool idea. Seraphim are gonna try to get on top of it. They will not kill that thing off. Not with a Repairmatic and Nanoswarm and a bunch of Bobs repairing. This Atlas will stay alive. You will not kill this Atlas. But behind this, like, the supply, I think, is kind of telling the story. It becomes very hard to get an additional base, very hard to take this fight. And that really is the problem. The only thing that you have that kills off these Argents for the most part is this Atlas. There's the exo count is not high enough. So this is just a very dicey. This is a very dicey scenario for, so Yu's gonna move on top once again. And there comes the Archangel coming from a weird angle, trying to kill off this Atlas. Not gonna be able to do so, but Archangel gonna pop Avatar form, stay alive a little bit longer. And it doesn't even have, yeah, it just has to soak. The Atlas is dead, and that was the one thing that was the one thing that was really anchoring the defensive lines of Mixu. With the Atlas dead, there really is not a whole lot that Mixu can do anymore. Mass Argent, doesn't matter if it's a tier 1, tier 3 play. This just looks very hard for the Vanguard player to deal with. So Mixu's gonna fall down, I think, at this point. It's about 100 supply lead. And yeah, sure, the supply can lie sometimes, but it's still 100 supply lead. Mixu's gonna lose this base. XD, he says he's gonna tap out. He does not think that this was that this style is fair, but he's gonna lose the game regardless. And that means that Yu is gonna take the game 2-0.